Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zeros on Heroes Collateral Benefit. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a minute. My name is Mike Mercadal. With me, as always, is
Will Watkins.
I never know if I'm mirrored or not, so I don't know which direction to
Yeah.
point. But welcome, Will Watkins. Happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas past the whatever holiday you celebrate this time of the year. I hope you're having a good one. Will, which holiday do you celebrate, and was it fun for you?
I celebrate the holiday of capitalism.
Yes.
So I worked on Christmas and I made time and a half.
Oh, wonderful! I also worked Christmas Day.
Mm?
Working on Christmas Day is the. I feel like that's a rite of passage in anybody in this gig economy. No, yeah. Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Collateral Benefit. If you're new to the show, this show is all about if you improve one aspect of your life, other aspects of your life will also be improved as a collateral benefit. So it started off as a fitness thing, but you know what? We realized very quickly that we do fitness for mental health reasons.
Yeah.
So mind, body, and you know what? If you improve your mind, you improve your relationships with other people, you improve community, or at least your relationship to it. So the show is all about fitness for your body, working out, to diet, all the stuff that involves improving your body, mental health improvements. So you improve the processor, and then how that manifests itself into relationships in your life and the people around you in the community. With that said, it is now the end of the year, 2024. We started doing this thing again. Off and on, we've been trying to be as regular as we can about it, but life is always in the way. Try not to stress out too much. What has this year held for you, Will Watkins, in the scope of our podcast where you're improving your life, mind, body, and community? Are there any benchmarks that you could point to and be like, yes, this has been improved because of something I did?
I will say my relationship with food is better.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
I will say that I changed it up, where I no longer lift extremely heavy. I now lift, my volume is not condensed into 5 to 6 reps. Now I'll spread it out to 10 to 12 reps.
Spread out those reps. Spread them
Maybe
reps out.
I'll even go to like 30 reps if I'm doing like a
Interesting.
bicep curl or like a Bayesian curl kind of thing. I'll go for the higher rep.
Do you
Eh,
feel like you started the year at some point mentally that your focus was a certain thing, and then in terms of gym or anything else, but in terms of like you started with one mindset, and where do you think you've ended up? Did you progress? Did you stick to it?
You know what's interesting is too, because it compounds on everything else you've learned. You not only do you stand on the shoulders of everyone that came before you, you stand on the shoulders of different versions of yourself. So it's like
Yes.
so at the beginning of the year, I was like, I really want to get a good butt, and I was like, just
A
you know,
good butt.
I'm gonna get a good butt because it's good for like hip health and all that stuff. And then as I was working out, it was like I should also strengthen my back. And then I was like, all right, let me get the lats and everything, because that kind of goes all together when you're doing a deadlift or something like that. And I was like, I got to make sure I get the good calves, and because that also helps. And you, as you're doing all these things, you go, oh, well, this part
It
is
all
giving out.
builds.
Yeah, this part is giving out before I even get to my butt. So it's like, oh, I got to work the quads, I got to work the hamstrings. It's like,
All roads end at the butt.
yeah,
We've learned this as a people that all roads lead up your butt. That's ultimately your butt is the source of all health and fitness. Unironically true. That
yeah.
is actually a thing. Maybe this year that the report came out that people who have larger glutes and who have a larger, what do they call it? I'm trying to think. It was just such like a funny term, not posterior chain, but like it was basically saying if you got a big ass, you're able to move better and you're stronger, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you will invariably live longer.
yeah.
So every girl doing those booty explosion things at the machine where the kickbacks.
Yeah.
Hey, they just want to live longer. I want to join them, like I want to join the quest for the ultimate glute. Do you feel like you've achieved those goals?
Oh yeah. You know what's interesting too, and this kind of happened when because when I was younger, I was like, I want to work out, I want to get the shredded six-pack abs and blah blah blah, look like a superhero. And then when I was when I first started hitting 30s, early 30s, now I'm so old. I'm like 39 now, almost 40.
Oh
So
no.
it's like when I hit my 30s, I was like, man, I don't care about the six packs. I just want to be healthy. And then it's like, and then once I started I was like, I just want to focus on health. That's when I started to get like the physical features I wanted originally, where it was
Right.
like, oh yeah, well, I mean, if you work your traps and your rear delts, it's going to give you better posture. If you work your lats, it's going to give you more of that V taper. It's, you work your deadlifts, you're strengthening your core along with everything else. It is like, oh, everything I wanted. This is what I should have been doing from the get-go.
Yes.
Instead of just like, I need to do bench press and abs.
I remember, I'm also an older gentleman. I'm 43, and I'm doing my workout goals have shifted from when I was in like high school. I think is where not everyone. I'll speak for myself. Where I and my friends, the people around me, due to athletics, it was a little different because I was never working out. My initial purchase point into the world of fitness was through football and athletics, which is all strength training, functional strength training. Like if I'm going to squat, it's not because I want a big butt and a big thighs and all that stuff or nice legs or any of that stuff. It's because I'm going to blast through the guy in front of me to get to the quarterback, or I'm going to hold back the rushing defensive end, or whatever. So a lot of my training started from a different place, and I was just like a monster child. I don't think it's funny to say that, but I was 16 years old and like squatting 450 pounds, like 17. I was 17. And it's like, you don't need to do that. And then as you get older, like I remember as I got older and I left high school and college, and you try to like date, you try to be what you think the girls want to get with. And at that time, it was a lot of skinny dudes with six-pack abs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, it felt like, do you remember Kung Pao Enter the Fist, where they're like, we trained him wrong as a joke?
Yeah.
That's 100% what it felt like. I'm like, oh no. It wasn't until way later that the dad bod trend and learning that some girls just like a thicker dude came into the picture. I was like, oh no, like all of that stuff. So like my approach to it now is back to that functional strength and like different. It's not about looks. It's about being able to like my back not to hurt. And it's about building up my glute, because I sit in an office chair all day now, because it's like you get office chair butt. Have you seen some of the exercises they recommend for office chair butt? You would get sent to HR immediately if you did that in a crowded cubicle space, a shared work environment where you're like, no, it's straight up bridges, like a glute bridge. But it says so instead of, I don't even know if I can do it. You sit on your chair, you put your shoulders on the seat, and then you just plant your feet, and you're just doing glute bridges in the middle of like with your shoulders on your office chair. And it's like the most sexually suggestive exercise of all the exercises, of course, because you're just hip thrusting into the air. But yeah, like there's a whole thing. Look up office chair butt, and it's like, oh, my workout goals are very different now.
I do think that is interesting about. I think it was a change for like, because you're a little older, but you're technically millennial still.
I am like bridge. I'm in the Gen X. I was born in 81, so like we're the middle children of all of these fucking, like everyone's like the millennial or like the middle child of all this. Shut up. I am like threading the needle between like, what is labeled Gen X and what is labeled millennial.
Yeah, you especially. So I know I'm referred to as like an elder or elder millennial,
geriatric
millennial, or some people call it the analog digital generation, where it's like we
yes
got that transition. And I think I got hit a few years after, because like my classmates were never interested in, you know, how strong we could be or whatever it was.
right
It was literally like we came into the consciousness of what our bodies are at the same moment where Ryan Reynolds was on the cover of Men's Health, and D'Angelo released that video where he had the cum gutters.
D'Angelo.
Yeah, D'Angelo.
Introducing Ryan Reynolds introducing the what's the real?
Gutters,
I don't want to call them cum
Adonis
gutters.
belt,
Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
what is
the obliques.
My Google search terms is going to show.
They're the external obliques.
Oh, okay. Actual name for cum gutters. Anyone have an alternative descriptive word for the iliac furrow muscle, the Adonis belt, the Hercules' girdle?
Yeah, the girdle Hercules.
That's
it's actually a very important muscle. It's a good muscle to have.
No, and again, once you learn, like, there's so much misinformation, and like especially pre-internet era, like the pre-social media era, I'll say pre-influencer era, you would get like the worst possible advice.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's all you had access to for a generation. You just did the same dumb shit you always did, and then all of a sudden you're like, why is my shoulder always hurting, or why is my back always hurting? And it's because everyone was telling you fucking wrong things.
Yeah.
And now I think about it like in terms of the influencer thing. Now you're getting before you would get one piece of information and that was it. Now you get too many pieces of information and they're still all bullshit. Like now you got to sift through all the crap to be like, I guess this is good, maybe.
And I think it also goes in that larger view of science and the pop culture right now, where it's like, well, these people who are science-based, well, they said that lengthened partials were better than full range of movement, and now they're saying it's you can do full range of movement, but you just need to emphasize the length and stretch. So it's like they don't know what they're talking about. They keep changing their minds, and it's like, yeah, that's what science is. Science is always trying to disprove itself.
Yeah, it's the difference in intent. So getting into the mind side of things, the mental health side of things, we've had a lot of hurdles this year to get over in terms of mentally preparing ourselves for what's coming down the pipe. But the idea of prove me wrong, right? When somebody says prove me wrong as a scientist, that means they are subjecting their discoveries for peer review.
Yeah.
When someone says prove me wrong from any other perspective, it's pretty shitty. It's like a lot of people, claiming outlandish things, go prove me wrong. I did my research. It's like, no. You're coming at it. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
It's funny. It's like if you just change
the burden is on you.
If you change the tone of voice, it has two different meanings. Like classic, theater exercise, where it's like "prove me wrong" is like the douchebag, but then science is like, "Oh, prove me wrong."
Oh, prove me wrong.
Yeah, prove me wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you're right. That does make more sense. Yeah.
It's so stupid. Well, look, just to let's keep on theme here. I started my year trying to address a lot of health issues, right? Like that was my big thing this year, trying to lose weight, which is always just this endless struggle, not because of vanity, but because I have back injury that feels better when I weigh less. I am a large man. I have a big frame. I possess a large skeleton. I am literally big boned just because of my sheer frame. I carry a lot of weight, and being tall, like I'm a Great Dane of a man. You know what I mean? Like
that's a good description.
Yeah, like it's gonna be a problem in the later years. Big bummer. I don't mean to bum anybody out, but I started my year trying to focus on health recovery. We'll call it. Focus on addressing literally all of my medical issues. blood pressure, trying to do all these things. I'm 43 years old, all of the prostate stuff. And in the process, we've talked about it on the show before, but ADHD, the mental health side of things, was a big one too. My mental focus, my inability to form a routine and stick to structure, and the desperate need for structure, but my inability to maintain it. Like all of these ADHDs, like the stuff that pop psychology suddenly starts making sense to you, where you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But rather than just rely on the pop psychology, I went and got like actual diagnoses. And that was a big part of my mental health process throughout the year. And that, in fact, made my workouts better because I was able to focus more, and it also helped me like form better patterns. Something I have not talked about on the show the whole time is that this year I've also spent addressing other health issues, including low testosterone, which I think it's also kind of a taboo subject. Like dudes, macho dudes, there's two ways to do it. If you have low testosterone, the symptoms, low energy, low sex drive, all these kinds of, erectile dysfunction, all these symptoms that are incredibly taboo to people who only have their version of masculinity as their capital. They only have the fact that I'm a fucking man because I say so, and it's like, okay. But if you take that away from them, the diminishing testosterone as I've gotten older, and other factors like sleep habits and all these kind of negative things, I also got on treatment for that, and that has been like a very it's been in the last few months. Like only really got diagnosed and got treatment and got put on testosterone in the last couple months. It's been like a journey. Well, to go back, there's the macho toxic masculinity, and then there's also the stigma of telling people that you're taking testosterone and all these things from the gym bro culture of juicing, right? Getting on gear. They are not the same thing, but some people will just not see the nuance between the two. You've never taken steroids in your life, right?
No.
Me neither. I do not know what the experience of steroids is like, but I can tell you right now, as I'm learning the experience of testosterone, it really is kind of shockingly fountain of youthy. It is very, very much helped me reclaim what I feel is like activity at the gym and feeling stronger. It's like I don't have the clinical way to describe it, but I can tell you right now, man, it is different. Everything feels like, oh God, what's that interview with a vampire when fucking Tom Cruise bites Brad Pitt and then turns him into a vampire, and then he's like, look at the world with your vampire eyes. It feels like there's some sort of metamorphosis happening. And even there's a lot of side effects that have come with it, and I've had to address those as well, but it is shocking how different it feels. And I don't know how to, but that's been my journey throughout the year, has been addressing the issues of aging and injury, which is kind of why we started this podcast in the first place, right? Like,
basically.
It started with the claim, with aging and injury. It feels like my big, goals.
It's funny because I've always been interested in the topic of testosterone replacement, especially before you get older, because that's basically the only reason I take it. There's some kids who are kids in the early 20s or whatever, and they're doing testosterone replacement. It's like terrible for a young, unless they absolutely need it for medical reasons, but they're doing it just to increase the testosterone. But I just went to have a physical a couple weeks ago, and I was like, hey, can I just find out what my testosterone levels are? And he was like, yeah, you can't, they won't cover that. And I was like, but it's like a thing I kind of want to know, like, to prepare for future health. So he was like, I can put down here that you have problems sexually, and they'll cover it for that. Are you okay with me putting that on your medical record? And I was like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, this is the land of the free, home of the brave, where you have to lie to get medical treatment. You have to figure like it's like, lie. I don't care, man.
Yeah, who am I going to be embarrassed in front of my next doctor?
Your doctor says, you're having some erectile dysfunction. It's like, yeah, man, sure.
whatever. I don't
Yeah,
care. But
what
anyway,
it's like, who
it came back
cares?
and I'm fine. And it's like, I don't know, I forgot the
I would
number, like
imagine
680 or whatever. It's like smack dab in
in the zone. Did
in
you
the
have to
zone.
take
Yeah.
it after having woken up? Did they do that? Did they test you like based on when you sleep?
No, he just like
He just
because
drew it right there.
he
Yeah,
just drew it up because they were like, oh, we're gonna check your liver enzymes and your type 2
yeah,
diabetes because your dad has that and blah 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 and blah. And I
yeah.
was like, hey, why don't you throw on a testosterone thing? Put it on the tab. Let's
Put it on the
go.
tab. Yeah, well, my dick don't work or whatever. Whatever you got to say.
So how long
I
have you
had
been on it for?
I've been on it for about a month. I have my whatever shot I have to do today. And I've been having to do my own injections. Luckily, I'm a medical person, so I know how to do
Yeah.
it all. Like that wasn't a hurdle I had to cross.
So immediate
Um,
benefits are you have more energy.
More sex
Uh,
drive, more energy. I feel like I'm going through second puberty, which, as it's been described by the trans community, like trans mass people that have taken testosterone, they describe like it's been something that popped up on my feed months and months ago, and I keep thinking about this one video that I saw where this guy was like transitioning, was like, "Hey, I've never felt more horny in my life." And then it was a stitch, and some guy was like, "Welcome to the club." We all go there. We had to go through that at like 15, where it was like you're not an adult and you don't have a fully formed brain yet, and you have to deal with the like rampant testosterone in your body.
yeah.
It felt if I kept thinking about that because it did feel like all of a sudden it was like in direct conflict with my ADHD medicine. They were like fighting in my body. Like they were like my ADHD meds were trying to keep me on focus, and my testosterone was like shut
Yeah,
up, nerd.
but boobs, right?
Yeah, like it was literally like ADHD is the nerd and testosterone is the jock. I only have those two in my head because I was born in the 80s, and it's literally like my ADHD is like, hey, we gotta focus, we gotta we gotta get this done, the bills are due here, this, that, and the other. Oh, we got the car thing we gotta get, and blah blah blah. And then the testosterone is like tits, ass, tits, fucking jerk off right now. It's like whoa. Let's find a happy medium. It has
You know,
since balanced out, but it was rough for a minute where I was just like,
I've always kind of felt bad for trans dudes that, or maybe lucky. They're like kind of lucky a little bit that they never had to go through 15-year-old having to hide their boner under their belt
yes,
in math class or
yes.
whatever it is, and it's like, oh, come
Holding
up to
your
the board and
backpack
solve
in
the
front of you,
question.
pretending like you're going through your papers,
Because
like,
that really is like a dude rite of passage. So I kind of feel
yeah.
bad for the trans dudes that like they don't get to experience that. But
It's a bittersweet thing. It's like a double-edged sword where it's like
yeah,
it's a skill that you learn for penis having people for when you get an erection that as a teen especially where it's taboo and it's unknown and it's
yeah,
mysterious, no one's ever like cool with it. Or who knows, man, like I feel like that shouldn't be so stigmatized where it's like and all this would happen all the time because I think the term morning wood is a misnomer.
yeah.
It should be called like sleepy wood or like you like the half sleep where you're like not fully conscious and your dick's just like, well, time to stretch out, like and because I would fall asleep in class all the time. That was my thing. The ADHD at the time, because the H was all that the shit people cared about in the 80s, but like in the 90s, I guess at this stage, was I was not hyperactive. I was just falling asleep in class. That was my ADHD manifestation.
Yeah.
Inattentive or whatever, combined type or whatever they want to call it. Whatever the new terms are. So I would fall asleep in class all the time. So there were moments where, because of the body changes, that sleepiness, like the erection would just be like, well, now's as good a time as any. And all of a sudden I'd get woken up and be like, Mike, can you come to the front of the class? And so classic shit. It's happened to me multiple times where I'm like, I am not feeling well. I'm going to stay in my chair. I'd have to lie about it. Otherwise, I would have just walked up there with like a full erection and been like, hey, this is what you wanted. I asked to stay seated. You called me to the front, But it is a thing that I dealt with so much, and it's bittersweet because it is a skill you learn. It's like something you have to go through, but it's also like a trauma.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a penis growing up, and you transition and you go, you skipped a level, like you passed something that I feel is a kind of a ubiquitous thing for boys at where you have to there's a certain amount of shame that I feel like is bad, but it's also like we're not going to pretend it's not real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't like it. I disagree that people should be shamed for having a natural process as a child going through puberty. But also, you do feel it. It is. You're like, ugh, I hope no one.
So
that was my thing. You grab your book bag, you hold it in front of you, and you're like looking through the papers, like, where's my? I'm looking for.
Oh, where did I put the thing?
Where did I put the thing? Yeah.
So what? Let me ask are you cool with talking about the negatives? What's the negatives with the testosterone?
Prostate.
TRT.
Yeah, the TRT. So one of the things that happened was that I got all the symptoms of, like, I have prostate cancer in my family.
Ooh.
So I've been getting checked pretty regularly for a while now, because I had some symptoms years and years ago, like 10 years ago. And they were like, oh, we got to check you for all the cancers and all that stuff. Again, all of this has helped. I wrote that joke. I don't know if you ever heard my joke about it. I wrote bits about getting your prostate checked.
Oh, yeah.
About how it was a bonding moment with my dad, because I was like, I gotta get checked out. He's like, yeah, you gotta get checked out. I asked him, like, what should I expect? And he's like, I don't know, man. I had to do it. He's like, I had to do it every year as part of my physical in the military. I had a big army doctor, huge knuckles. And I was like, come on, Dad, why is that the thing you're telling me? Because now it's like the first thing I'm noticing on the guy. The doctor comes in and it's like, these guys got, it's like, little fingers. It's like, great, fine. But yeah, it was basically like, I'm used to that sort of thing. But when it happened again, I was talking to, because I went to an endocrinologist first to test my testosterone, because they were also testing me for pre-diabetes, because I was not behaving. And I really, really, I made a big turnaround with my fitness, and that was part of this journey, this podcast journey, where I really made a point of exercise, like a lot of exercise, a lot of activity. And then that brought my A1C down to the point where they could say I'm no longer pre-diabetic. Great. In that time, they were also testing me, my thyroid and all this other stuff for the energy level things, the hormone imbalances that could be caused from other stuff, and testosterone. So I went to the endocrinologist. They're like, fine. Then she sent me to the urologist, and then the urologist is like, okay, here's all the stuff. It's pretty common. We, like, if we see it, men your age, and you're in your 40s. Like, I got a lot of the old man stuff where I was just like, oh no, I really leaned into being an old man a lot. They're treating me like an old man. I'm like, oh no, that feels bad. But anyway, it was fine, and it was what it was. And I get put on the treatment. Getting it was kind of a hurdle, because I had to, like, the mail order pharmacy that I normally use was like, no, we don't send that, because they're in a different state. Politics is, of course, involved. There was like, oh, we have to, we recommend you get it from your local pharmacy. Then, CVS is like, okay. They're switching their systems. Everything's going bad in the pharmaceutical industry and healthcare and all that stuff. So everything's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more red tape. And finally, when I got it, I started doing the injections. It was like, oh, I got to give myself shots and all that stuff. The first time, it was weird. Like, it felt weird to give myself a shot of a hormone, knowing I was putting it in my system.
Yeah.
It does feel a little foreign. It feels like it feels a little different than a pill, because it's a process that I'm used to, because I eat food, I drink water, to take a pill is nothing. So then when the act of injecting myself makes it so that I have to put, you know what I mean? Like, it's going into my muscle, which is not a thing I do it's like, it's odd. And I felt a little bit of a rush. I felt like a little bit of a feeling of like I suddenly became very aware of every little thing that was happening to me because I was like, is this gonna the hypervigilance of being like
Yeah.
on a new, like everything mattered. And then of course it all calms down and blah, blah,
Yeah, the
blah.
whole like giving yourself a shot has always intrigued me because your body and your mind are naturally like, don't injure yourself. If you try to stab yourself
Yes.
with a
Yeah. Yeah.
knife,
Yeah.
it's like, "Ah." So like the idea
Your
of like,
body will freak out. Yeah.
so what do you do it in your leg, your butt? What are you gonna do with that?
You rotate the sights. I've done it on I'm right-handed. So leg, quad, arm. I have not done the butt yet because I don't want to hit the sciatic nerve. I don't want to hit any of those things. And I'm not, like it's an odd angle.
Yeah.
They say you rotate so that you don't form too much scar tissue and blah blah blah. But
Uh-huh.
with that said, I have not had any hurdles with that because I come from as a
Yeah.
paramedic. You give you do IVs. I did IVs forever. I've started IVs on myself. So this is this is fine. It was just I just didn't want to mess it up and then screw up this process for myself. And getting needles and syringes is kind of annoying. You know what I mean? It was of getting the medicine because it's like, yeah, I work in a hospital, but I can't just take all that stuff. So I had to go through the process of getting like needle and syringe from CVS, and they were like out of stock. I have to go to this other place. I had to do this other thing, and then finally they gave me like a batch. It's like I have to do this every week. Here's a bunch, but it was like odd. I was like, because if you're a junkie or something, you're not going to go to CVS and be like, hey, can I have some needles and syringes, please? It feels like
so I think that's
you have
why
to source the supplies.
they like reuse them all the time. The heroin addicts always, that's how they get the infections and whatnot.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I look, I consider myself pretty privileged in the or not privileged, whatever it is that it's advantageous for me to have had the history of being medical so that I can handle this for myself. I struggle to think about like having to have somebody help me every time.
Yeah.
Having somebody having someone inject me all the time. With that said, it's not that big a deal. It takes 3 seconds. I'm going to do it as soon as we get off the podcast. Like I have
Heroin?
to do one. I don't want to admit to it publicly on the podcast, but no, to do my testosterone shot.
For the side effects, if you don't mind me asking, you notice any of the classic stereotypical ones, the back knee, the hair loss, lowering the voice?
The hair loss is a concern of mine because my hair's already thinning, a little bit, but I have not noticed anything like jumping out of my scalp. I have not noticed acne as a problematic thing. What are the other ones? Give them to me. I'm trying to think of what the other
greater
the only thing,
facial hair growth, hair other parts of the body, back, shoulders.
No, no, but I'm also like I've always had a beard, and I'm not hairy. Like I'm 43, so that just kind of happened before I did all this stuff anyway. The only side effect I had was the BPH, the benign prostate hyperplasty, that hypertrophy. That when you're peeing, it's no longer the forceful stream that it was in my youth. I was so powerful. I was no more sword fighting in my future. And I was like, man, I really had to like focus and like relax everything. I'd be standing there and you have to double void and you have to do this stuff. And then finally I was like, hey, is that normal? And he's like, oh no, we can give you this medication for it. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And then problem solved. But again, it's another medication, right?
Yeah.
It's a medication, gives you a side effect. You take a medication for the side effect, it gives you another side effect. Like it's this kind of odd chain reaction that I'm desperate to avoid. With that said, the results are balancing out the risk and reward, or the cost benefit is real. Like of course I would rather have the benefits of the testosterone than the side effects of the medication. But then again, it's still early. I'm only like a couple months in, so it's like we'll figure that out as we go. with all that said, that my journey this year has been that, and I feel like I've made a lot of progress in terms of my mindset and in terms of my, maybe not so much physically, but I do feel like healing has been a big part of my year. Um, in terms of community, like how is doing the show and how is the focus of like physical fitness and health permeated through the relationships in your life, or the outward effects of this sort of thing? How has that manifested itself in your world, do you think?
The physical fitness and stuff, the
Yeah.
community. I mean, I always do. I was thinking about this every year around New Year's time. I always put a thing online like, "Hey, I'm not an expert in the field, but if any of my friends want any advice on how to get started on a fitness journey, like hit me up." And usually I get like 3 or 4 people. Will
Yeah.
Carey and a couple other people hit me up and, hey, can you give me a basic idea of what to do? And I just give them the basic, extremely basic stuff where it's a good starting point for them. And
Because it is the season for New Year's resolutions, right? Like that's where we're at.
Yeah, but that, and then you meet people in the gym. There's a bit of community building within the gym. We just got the gym I go to just got like 3 new pieces of equipment. Finally got a hack squat, which is a fantastic machine.
Mm-hmm.
So the day it got installed, I walked in and like a couple of my gym buddies were like, "Did you see that? They really got that!" And it was like, this is kind of nice. This is kind of nice. Just the idea of like people like excited, people I don't like hang out with outside of the gym. I'm seeing them excited, and it's like, yeah, we share this thing together. This excitement. We have this shared excitement about this new workout equipment.
It's interesting. It's interesting because as somebody who I've moved away from my groups, like in South Florida where my family is, in New York where my friends are, I moved away. So there is that feeling of isolation. But the second you have a routine, like when I was going to the gym like every other day or like every day, and I was present there, I would see the same people, and it's that we're not friends. We're friendly, but we're not friends. But I see them, and you're there like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? If I were to see you in another setting, I would carry that with me and say hello and whatever. Like if I saw you in the laundry room, I'd be like, hey man, oh, I see you there. Yeah. And I just recently, started a conversation. It was like, because I work in my apartment complex gym. I work out in like a small, it's not like a chain where there's like a bunch of people working out. It's just the little local thing for our building, for like the complex of our building. That there is that feeling of, I want to say what's up, but it's also like kind of in my home. Like this feels like my home. So there's also that invasiveness of like, I just want to work out and go away. Like I'm here to accomplish a task and then move on.
Yeah.
This is not social for me. But when I would work out, I will say when I was working out with my wife, that's where I really felt like that, like, oh, we can do this together kind of thing. It's a thing that together.
Working out in New York is fun because like the gym I go to is like halfway between my work and my home. So it's like either walking to the gym or just anywhere. I'll be like not even going to the gym, or I'm not even going to work. I'm just like going to a restaurant or whatever it is, and I'll run into people that work out at my gym just because it's like the local gym for us. Just like walking in the streets, and it's like, hey, guy, I've known for 3 years, but never found out your name. But I always do this when I see you. Like, hey, how's it going, man?
And yeah, to a certain extent, there is this built-in, the what this show started out as, gym bro culture, being like, hey, let's shine a light on the fact that it's changed.
Yeah,
it's new. It does not have that same negativity that people used to associate with the gym. And I realize now that the people who used to associate gym culture with negativity were the people who weren't there.
Yeah,
100%. The people who were out, who didn't make the effort to even understand like what fitness culture really is. Like some of my best. God, yeah, I like when I was talking about being like a teenager playing football and everybody's there working on, you hit a new record, like a new max bench, you were able to get fucking, the first time you ever do 2 plates, like, and having a bunch of people around to like cheer you on, as yes, it can get toxic, and yes, it can be negative. That does not feel like the main thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It does not feel like the it's not the what do you it's the exception, not the rule. The rule for me was always people want you to succeed. People want to I'll spot you, I'll do this or whatever. Maybe Miami was not the best place to references because there is a lot of superficiality. There's a lot of like machismo and a lot of competition and a lot of like eyeing everybody up. But coming from an athletics background, I guess helps. You know, like that
Yeah.
that was like if I got stronger, that my team would see that as the team got stronger. You know what I mean? When we all worked out together and we're there, like, you know, after school doing these workouts. Like, at no point were we judging each other or whatever. We were just challenging each other, and that feels like something that I think is what defines fitness gym bro culture. I didn't want to say bro, but like gym culture and the gym community more than any of the toxic stuff I was hearing. And I was like, all right, I guess, you know, I guess from the outside it could appear that way.
It is funny to see like the residuals of I'd say older generations fit into that description where sometimes it'll be, you know, somebody in their 50s or something like that, and they'll be exhibiting that type of behavior in the gym. And but when that happens, it's like everybody else just looks at each other like this fucking guy. Like,
yeah, it feels self-correcting.
It's no longer like, oh, that guy's intimidating. It's like that guy's pathetic.
It's no longer, yeah, like it used to be. God, it is another example of like boomer culture dying away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like boomer culture, there's always the bigger, the bully, the guy that the picks on, you know, like the jock mentality. Like I used to read them when I was a kid, and I look back and I think it's very funny. The Archie comics.
Oh yeah.
Where they had like Archie and Jughead, and there was Moose. There was this big. The football playing guy was dumb and strong. And then I remember having my brain changed when the show Recess came out, and they showed Mikey. And as somebody who shared the name as the character on this movie in the show, I was like, he was like artsy and sensitive and all these things, but he was just the big kid. And I'm like, that feels so much more true to me now than any of the like big kid bully stuff. You know, that was always like a thing. So it's always interesting to see how it's being reflected over time in pop culture. And like when AC Slater from Saved by the Bell was the jock, but he was he was the dancer. He was all these other like, but they made him like the macho guy who like calls all his girlfriend mama, you know, like weird shit like that. But of the time, it felt like, you know, it still felt old even then. You know,
I feel like it was even kind of self-aware back then too, where they knew that was right. Like in Blazing Saddles, like Mongo the big brute.
Yes.
And at one point, somebody actually talks to Mongo, and he goes, "Mongo is only pawn and game of life."
Yeah,
and it's like
deeper than you think.
Where it's like showing that big people can be intellectual in a certain way. And I think it kind of extends now, where it used to be the jocks versus the nerds. Where it's like back in the day, if it was like, that person, he fucking likes anime. What a fucking nerd. Meanwhile, everybody at the gym is like, fucking Vegeta when he was training. And
what's his power level, bro?
Super Saiyan with this lift. And it's like now
true.
the nerds are the jocks and the jocks are the nerds. And there's this crossover where you get like, you know, the nerds grew up and if they were interested in sports scientists, now they're all these fucking jack dudes who have PhDs and talking about, you know, and they're arguing and not over, you know, how much what would you bench? And they're like, well, no, because length and partials, and they're like arguing about
the
this
same.
like,
yeah. It's like
and it's like, man,
the idea that physical strength or size or genetics of body have anything to do with your capabilities of intellect is kind of, it's like a weird narrow worldview, because even go back to that famous Socrates quote.
Yeah.
Like Socrates, one of the most recognized names in like the history and the development of philosophy was this brilliant thinker. I don't know. He's perceived that way. It's every man's duty to what is it? I can't remember the exact quote, but it's
the epitome of their physical fitness.
Yeah, Socrates fitness quote. What is the let's see. No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, he said it better than I did.
It's pretty good. No man has the right to be an amateur. I love that. An amateur in the matter of physical training.
I think it is interesting too that because there's so much more of the blending of the intellectual and physical that even like nowadays you can like debunk fitness myths immediately, or you can debunk like fake supplements or whatever it is, where it's like, oh, buy these BCAAs, and everybody's like, you don't need BCAAs. They're just branch chain stuff. Just drink a glass of milk and you have all you need for the day. And it's like shooting it down, like, oh, you need to have this type of creatine. It's like, no, get the cheapest one. It's just as good.
Yeah. There's so much to the fitness internet culture that it's like, again, I think things come around full circle. Like you get access to too much information. Like at a certain point, there's no, it's tough to look. We're on the internet talking about it. This is kind of our therapy session. We started this podcast because it helps us to stay focused. You're my friend. I love you. And I appreciate that you've helped me in this journey, and we're like talking and sharing and all this stuff. And at a certain point, all you want is like what works for you, what works for you. If something's working for you, you don't need to change it. If something can improve what you do, then augment your life with it and see if it works. If it doesn't, then discard it. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science to say that I'm going to work out, right?
Yeah.
There's a big push now on like TikTok and social media where it's because fitness has been kind of co-opted and kind of taken over by the alt-right.
Oh yeah.
They like are all over the like all about fitness. That there needs to be like leftist and progressive leaning fitness spaces, and there's the danger, of course, calling people ableist and all these things to you can't just because you are unable to do some things doesn't mean you can't do others. And there's this one guy, he's like, hey man, you want to talk about anti-capitalist fitness approaches? Push-ups are free. And I was like, God, you know what? That's true. Yeah. I started with just push-ups. I do them at work all the time at my desk. Like, you just bang out some push-ups. Did I need any additional equipment? Did I need anything? Nothing. I just bang out some push-ups. Push-ups are free. Squats are free. Your body is yours to maneuver and manipulate however you want. Not sexually in any way. That you keep private and then shamefully behind clothes. But the idea of having your freedom. You don't have to buy the latest supplements. You don't have to go get a gym membership to Equinox. Weights weigh the same in every gym, or they should.
Yeah. So people are like, oh, you go to Planet Fitness? Oh, and it's like, yeah, it's $10 a month. 75 pounds there is 75 pounds anywhere else.
Yeah, it's going to what's those super expensive? I can't think of any of them. I don't.
Yeah, Equinox is probably
the most known expensive one. Yeah. Where it's like you're not going to magically be lifting more like heavier weight at the expensive gym. You're just paying more money to do it. Like you still just do it. I do it free. I can do it for free here where I live.
Yeah.
Do they have 100-pound dumbbells? No. Can I use 100-pound dumbbells? No. The day that I outgrow the facilities that I have, maybe I'll step it up. But beyond that, no, thank you. It's fine. All this to say that as we've been kind of exploring, you're more advanced in this thing, but as I've been like kind of exploring reclaiming my fitness and reclaiming my health,
Mm-hmm.
all I'm learning is that do something, anything, and start somewhere, and
Yeah,
eventually you will figure it out, and keep the clearest voices that have the most accompanying evidence
yeah,
as your guides, because that's
yeah.
really the only thing you can do is try something that has evidence behind it. Evidence-based medicine is what all of the practice of medicine is based on, evidence-based. So why wouldn't we include fitness there?
I think it's the thing where it can get overwhelming for some people, but I'd say this to people when they have questions about fitness and like, oh, I don't have a PhD, I can't follow what these people are saying, and it's like the further you get into it, it's more about optimization, where it's
Yeah.
like, you know, this type of cable fly at this angle is better optimization, but it's like, but also you could just get on a bench press and that also works your chest. So just do that.
Bang out some push-ups.
Push-ups,
I'm just saying.
push-up, squat, deadlift, 3 basic exercises. You can
Yeah.
figure it out.
You don't
You don't have to lift heavy. You don't have to,
yeah.
there's that's it.
The leftist guy, the leftist fitness guy, he was like, you don't even need legs, technically. And I was like, fuck, he's right. You technically don't need legs to do push-ups. You just need arms and a chest. And it's like, oh, you don't got arms? Guess what? Do some squats. It was this odd approach to like as an exaggeration of like, do what you can, you can't run, walk.
There's this dude who doesn't have arms, where it's like cut off like right at the elbow, and so he has straps he puts on, and those are attached to a chain with the weights on it, and he does this, but it's like just, and it's like, oh yeah, adapt. You just got to find a way, like, to overcome a hurdle. It's like this guy, ingenuity is a great advancement of
I love watching well, not the guy that killed his girlfriend, but the Blade Runners, the people who run on those like blades.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. But there's other people that do it. But because it's like, oh, interesting. And then also, I'm like, God, I feel like it is kind of an advantage. And I love seeing when people overcome barriers, right? Like, one of the things that I really enjoy seeing in like social media stuff is like when people are making progress are people who stick to the making a video a day of something.
Oh yeah.
And then they get to like day 1700 of me. There's this guy that started walking on all fours for a minute a day, or for like 5 minutes a day or something like that. And to see what it would do for him. And now he's like this crazy fitness, like you can see the difference. He's like, he went from walking on all fours to walking on just his hands, balancing. But that was the thing. He's like, oh, I'm going to walk on all fours every day for a minute a day and just record it. And he's like, for a minute a day, for or whatever the time duration was. And then eventually he got to the point where he was just like doing parkour in his living room. He was setting up obstacle courses for him to do things. And I was just like, because over time your body acclimates and your body is forced to improve. There will never not be improvement. As long as you don't injure yourself, your muscles will adapt, like your body will adapt. And I find that it's kind of like hopeful, the idea that the body heals, the body strengthens itself, the body, adapts to change. It's kind of like a hopeful feeling. With that said, now's the time of year where we're going into the new year. We put away the old that we just experienced, and now we're looking forward into the new year. Going into 2025, what is something for your body, something for your mind, and something for your community that you feel to give it like an umbrella, like of things where you're just like a home base that you can come back to in 2025 that you think will be something you want to work on?
We're separating 3 different things: body, mind, community.
Again, like the premise of the show, it will benefit collaterally. They all are interconnected. That all connects.
I kind of did this thing that'll connect all of them, which is I didn't know anything about my father's ancestry, my father's side of the family.
Mm, mm,
So I did I know people hate this, but the genetic testing thing where it's like
mm.
find out your health uh, chromosomes or whatever it is. But I also did the thing where it was like find out who your ancestry is through like
Mm-hmm.
census records and stuff like that because I didn't know any of that. And so that kind of is helping me. I just found out through this thing that my brother and I are the first generation of Watkinses that were not born in New York for like 300 years. I had no idea.
Whoa.
My
We've addressed on this
grandfather,
shit.
my grandfather, great grandfather, both are buried in Staten Island. Uh, Everyone else besides them was buried in Manhattan. Like buried like
Wow.
within like a 5 minute walk of me. Like I used to go to the Shake Shack across from where my great great grandfather is buried. Like,
Oh wow. I
and it's
mean,
like,
we've already addressed that on the show that you are descendant from Staten Island sewer people.
yeah,
Now now you have the proof. You got the documentation.
yeah. It's like they used to own where Beaver Street is down in Fidei.
Whoa.
And it's like, but it's also like, oh man, it's like I'm kind of connecting with my own personal community that like there's all these stories of like
Yeah.
how I became who I am that I had no idea about. And it's also like here are the health concerns you may not be aware of, and here's family members who have uploaded photos of Frederick
Oh
William
right.
Watkins. And it's like, oh, this is like my distant cousin that I can like reach out to and be like, hey, like I don't know anything about my father's side of the family. You're part of my father's side of the family. This is like a relationship I can develop.
And this is you find this is benefiting you by just the thought of widening the net that defines family for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah, it's I don't feel as separated from half of my lineage because it's like I've
Yeah.
always just like, oh yeah, the Clarks, they're but from Ireland, and they tried to blow up a post office, and yeah, and now it's like, oh shit, I had no idea we used to
You're
own
part of the
Manhattan.
IRA. Oh, I mean, also incredibly cool how far you've fallen. No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. But it is. How do you feel like it's going to go? But how is that going to translate into like how you feel about fitness and health in general moving into the new year? You just feel like that will help ground you to be able to focus on the health aspects, the aging.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it too is like cemetery and death records, where it's like
Mm.
so many of them died when they were like in their 80s or 90s. A couple of them were like in their
Oh,
hundreds, and it's like, oh shit, like I have, going back to the Socrates quote, I have that potential to like live a long life. So it's like if I, and now I have more technology and medical science than they did back then. So it's like
that's true.
I have the potential to reach that number if I wanted to.
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought about that. My focus. I did the testing too. I mean, like it happens. There's members of my family, like my dad's side of the family. Like there's a cousin that did a full family tree going back into like Europe and Spain and
Yeah.
Portugal and all kinds of craziness. And then but there are like blind spots in my family, and I don't. And of course, my grandfather he had cancer of the everything,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
also didn't take care of himself at all. He had like lung cancer and prostate cancer and all kinds of cancer, and that's what got him, and earlier probably than he would have if he would have lived to 90 or whatever. Um, my dad, my dad, same, like he's got high blood pressure. He's got a lot of like older man stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I have directly in front of me. An example of like what I'm going to be when I get older is through my father. My father and I are very, very similar in build and everything. So I can see that and be like, oh, these are the things that I will accept as good, and these are the things that I will fight against,
Yeah.
just in general. And it is an interesting thing. So I guess in 2025, one of the things that I really kind of want to come back to is the idea that of agency, right? I choose for me. right? That feels like a very like a simple, like one of those E equals MC squared. Like it's a
Yeah.
really tiny little thing, but explains a shit ton of information. I choose for me feels very like important, like a mantra that I will come back. Like even choosing not to choose something is a choice. Like all of these things, like really having control over my choices in 2025 and owning the bad ones will be something that I come back to. If I were to make a New Year's resolution, it would be to make the choices to get to get the results that I want. I will make the first choice correctly. Start that journey as trying to make those choices as correct as possible and correcting mistakes as soon as I discover them. That feels like a very very important thing for my 2025.
That's good to set boundaries so that people don't take away your choice or that you don't compromise your preferred choice. And I like the idea of correcting your mistake as soon as it happens instead of just being like, well, prove me wrong.
Like, prove me wrong.
Accept that there can be corrections made.
Well, I thank you for doing this with me for this time that we've been doing it in 2024. There's been so much that we've talked more than before. Like this is a communication that has grown just in the desire to do this sort of thing. I appreciate everything you've done for me and guiding me for which workouts and how to do things, and you're always willing to get my text message when I share my workout with you, and you're like, okay, baby. You're
the
very.
The one you did today, I was like, God damn, this is like a legit superhero workout. Like getting that Dorito V shape going on.
Thank you, Mike Israetel. The recommend. I'm on the Mike Israetel plan. It is a superhero. It's the Thor one. It's the Thor workout, and hopefully I will get stronger and better and stronger and better in 2025. I feel like that's the goal. Stronger and better for all.
Physical, mental, community, stronger and better. And going off of what you just said, likewise, it's a very good thing you're doing for me, and I appreciate it. And it's good to have somebody to talk to who is not the other guy in my head.
Yeah, we got to stop. We got to stop indulging those other voices and just talk to each other. Really. Thank you, everybody, for watching this, sharing this, liking, share, subscribe. We would be doing it if no one watched because we enjoy it, and this is nice for us because it does help remember that hey, I'm in control of my own body. I have a friend who's helping. We're all trying to help each other. The toxic gym bro culture of the past is dead. And we will not tolerate toxicity in these environments anymore from anyone of any gender, of any perspective, where it's all about improvement. What do we say about bigger, stronger, and healthier? What was the thing?
Stronger.
What was the thing we just said?
Yeah, man, we gotta take our ADHD meds.
Coming up, baby. Please, share this with anybody who you feel might benefit from it. Like, share, and subscribe at Zeros on Heroes on all social media platforms. We're on Blue Sky now as well. You can follow me at Mike Mercadal, at William A. Watkins 1, with or without the 1, depending on the platform. But you can find us online and share with us. We also have an email address if you want to send zerosonheroes@gmail.com. You can if there's something coming up in the new year that you want to focus on and you want help with, please feel free to send it to zerosonheroes@gmail.com or at Mike Mercadal, at William A. Watkins 1 on all social media. Thank you, everybody. There's going to be a lot of struggles coming up in the near future, and there's going to be a lot of stuff to think about, and a lot of effects. And I'm happy to have a friend to help me through it, and I hope I can be that friend to you.
Yeah, man, we'll be each other's Samwise Gamgee.
Samwise, the true hero of Lord of the Rings. Will, looking good.
Hey, I'm just trying to look like you, bro.
just trying to look like you, Will. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, sharing, and subscribing. Remember to go out and be heroic.